Freedom Publishing House, the leading publisher in academic materials across the globe.
IELTS Target 9. Published by Freedom Publishing House and Freedom Academy Press, 2026. This recording is a copyright. Test 15. This is the IELTS listening test by Target 9. You will hear a number of different recordings, and you will have to answer questions on what you hear. There will be time for you to read the instructions and questions, and you will have a chance to check your work. All the recordings would be played once only. The test is in 4 parts. At the end of the test, you will be given 10 minutes to transfer your answers to the answer sheet. Now turn to part 1. You will hear a recording about a man calling a real estate agency to sell his property. First, you have some time to look at questions 1 to 10. Now listen carefully and answer questions 1 to 10.
Hello. My name is Rob. Is it real estate agency?
Yes. You've called at the right place. How can I help you?
Actually, I want to inquire about selling my property.
Sir, my name is Linda, and I'm here to help you. May I know what sort of property you want to sell?
I have 2 properties to sell. One is commercial and the other is residential. But today, I want to list my commercial property for sale.
Okay. May I know the address and location of the property?
Well, I have 2 commercial properties to sell. One is in the main area and the other one in the countryside. For now, I want to sell the one located in the city centre.
Okay. Can I have the full address of the property?
Sure. The complete address is 14 Garden Lane. I repeat, 14 Garden Lane, in the city centre.
Is there any landmark nearby?
Yes. The property is located just opposite to the main gate of the train station.
Noted, sir. So, what is the size of the property?
The size of the plot is 16 feet by 55 feet. That means it is 16 feet wide and 55 feet in depth.
Is the plot empty, or is there any construction on it?
Yes. The building is almost fully constructed with some finishing work left. The construction is pretty new and was done a couple of years back.
And what about the floor system? I mean, how many floors are there in the building?
There is a ground floor with 2 floors above it. So, it makes it a 3-story building.
So it has 3 floors in total, including ground floor?
Yes. That's 3 floors.
Noted. So, what do you expect from your property? I mean, how much you are asking for?
Well, I guess according to the current market rate, I should get somewhere around $1 million.
Okay. So let me just do some calculations, sir. I think you are asking more than the market price. According to my calculations, you can get somewhere around $800,000.
Look, I'm not much into real estate, but I think that my property is in one of the best areas and it should get the best price.
Yes, you are right. I believe that $800,000 is the true value of the property in the current scenario. However, after looking at the interest of the buyers, you might get an extra premium. But for that, we need to wait a bit. We will do our best to get you a fair value of the property.
Thank you for the concern. I hope I get a fair evaluation. And may I know the commission on this sale?
We will charge a commission of 2% if we sell the property at $800,000 or below that. But if we can crack the deal at $1 million or more, then our commission will be 2.25%. Is it okay with you?
Although 2% would have been better. But I am okay with it.
Okay, sir, I want some more information about your income tax returns and occupation.
Sure. But I need some time to get my documents.
No, sir. You do not need to share this information on the phone. You need to send your documents to our office, or on our email ID.
Good. Sending an email would be convenient for me.
Our team would go through the documents and then we will call you to our office to sign the contract when it's ready. Is there anything else I can help you with?
No. Thank you for the information. I will send the documents right away.
That is the end of part 1. You now have half a minute to check your answers to part 1. Part 2. You will hear a community engagement coordinator talking to a group of students. First, you have some time to look at questions 11 to 14. Now listen carefully and answer questions 11 to 14.
Good morning. I'm Mark D'Souza, and I'm the Community Engagement Coordinator for a group that organizes volunteering initiatives across this region. I'd like to take a few minutes to talk to you about what volunteering involves and perhaps encourage some of you to consider giving it a try. So, what exactly do we mean by volunteering? It's when individuals, typically older teens or adults, willingly contribute their time and skills, without receiving payment, to assist others who may be facing difficulties in life. Most of our volunteers commit a few hours each week, although some are involved almost daily. There's a wide variety of tasks volunteers can help with, depending on their talents and what they enjoy. For instance, if a household is under pressure due to illness or financial hardship, a volunteer might offer basic cooking tips, help them organize their weekly grocery list, or provide budgeting advice. Sometimes, volunteers assist with light repairs or home improvement, such as hanging curtains or repainting a room, and occasionally, they even step in to supervise children for a short while, so that a caregiver can attend an appointment or simply take a break. But it's not just the people being supported who benefit. Volunteers themselves often find the experience highly rewarding. Whether it's many employers value volunteer work, when assessing job candidates, helping someone with physical limitations, or just being a friendly presence, volunteers frequently discover that it adds meaning to their own lives. That sense of having a role and being useful can be incredibly fulfilling. And from a practical perspective, it reflects compassion, initiative, and a willingness to go beyond personal gain.
Now listen carefully and answer questions 15 to 20.
Now I'd like to share what some of our wonderful volunteers have experienced, to give you a better sense of how varied and meaningful their roles can be. Rajiv assists an elderly gentleman who's beginning to suffer from memory loss. Once a week, Rajiv accompanies him, along with a few others, to the neighborhood arts hall, where visiting performers play classic tunes from decades ago. The music triggers powerful memories, allowing these seniors to reconnect briefly with their earlier lives and forget their present challenges. Our volunteer Mariana is truly inspiring. She has limited use of her left arm, but that doesn't hold her back. She supports two women with similar physical limitations who had become almost entirely sedentary. Mariana motivates them to take daily walks and simple exercises by leading through example, showing what's possible with determination. Omar spends time with a young adult who has a mobility condition and lives on his own. The young man used to spend days indoors without seeing anyone. Now, thanks to Omar's regular visits, they go out to local events and reconnect with people the young man had lost touch with. Lena visits an elderly resident every Thursday. When she learned that Lena used to design handmade accessories, she got curious. Lena brought over a few of her creations, and soon the woman was trying it herself. Now she spends hours crafting bracelets and enjoys showing them off to her neighbors. It's become a new passion for her. Matteo supports a household dealing with financial and emotional struggles. He regularly sits down with the family members to talk through their issues and helps them plan small, achievable steps. This has really empowered them and boosted their confidence in managing their own challenges. Lastly, there's Sophia, who volunteers with a teenage boy with developmental delays. At first, he was shy and barely spoke, but Sophia has worked consistently with him. Over time, he's become much more confident at expressing his ideas and now engages easily with others. I hope these stories have given you a better idea of what volunteering really means.
That is the end of part 2. You now have half a minute to check your answers to part 2. Part 3. You will hear a conversation between Margaret and Alyssa, discussing about their research. First, you have some time to look at questions 21 to 30. Now listen carefully and answer questions 21 to 30.
Hi Alyssa. Hope you've completed your research on the discussion topic.
Not yet. I was hoping if someone could give me some ideas.
Oh, don't worry. I've got you covered.
Oh, you are my savior, Margaret.
I suggest you take out a notebook while I state the facts.
That will be a good idea.
So, a volcano is a rupture in the crust of a planetary mass object, such as Earth, that lets hot lava, volcanic ash, and gases to outflow from a magma chamber beneath the surface. Earth's volcanoes happen because its crust is wrecked into 17 major rigid tectonic plates that drift on a hotter, softer layer in its mantle. Volcanoes can also form where there is stretching and thinning of the crust's plates, for example, in the East African Rift, and the Wells Grey Clearwater Volcanic Field, and Rio Grande Rift in North America. Hence, on Earth, volcanoes are usually found where tectonic plates are diverging or converging, and most are found underwater. For example, a mid-oceanic ridge, such as the Mid-Atlantic Ridge. This place has volcanoes that are produced by divergent tectonic plates, whereas the Pacific Ring of Fire has volcanoes produced by convergent tectonic plates. This type of volcanism falls under the umbrella of plate hypothesis volcanism. Volcanism away from plate boundaries has also been described as mantle plumes. These so-called hotspots, for example Hawaii, are assumed to arise from upwelling diapirs with magma from the core mantle boundary 3,000 kilometers deep in the Earth. So, volcanoes are usually not formed where two tectonic plates slide past one another, because these plates slide without creating magma chambers. These areas has often very high temperature and a lot of magma.
Wait. Let me just note down the last part. Okay. Move ahead.
Erupting volcanoes can pose many hazards, not only in the instant locality of the eruption. One such hazard is visibility, that can be a huge trouble for the crew to navigate the plane. But the one factor that is most prevalent is that volcanic ash can be a danger to aircraft, in particular those with jet engines where ash particles can be molten by the high operating temperature. The melted particles then adhere to the turbine blades and change their shape, disrupting the operation of the turbine. Large eruptions can disturb temperature as ash and droplets of sulfuric acid obscure the sun and cool the Earth's lower atmosphere or troposphere. However, they also absorb heat radiated from the Earth, thus warming the upper atmosphere or stratosphere. Factually, volcanic winters have caused catastrophic famines.
Oh, that's something I have never heard about. So what are the types of volcanoes?
The most common shape of a volcano is of a conical mountain, spewing lava and poisonous gases from a crater at its summit. Though, this labels just one of the many types of volcano. The features of volcanoes are much more complex, and their structure and behavior hinge on a number of factors. Some volcanoes have rugged peaks, shaped by lava domes, rather than a summit crater, while others have landscape features, such as massive plateaus. Vents that issue volcanic material including lava, ash, and gases, particularly on some moons of Jupiter, Saturn, and Neptune, and mud volcanoes, which are formations, often not related with known magmatic activity. Active mud volcanoes have a tendency to involve temperatures much lower than those of igneous volcanoes except when the mud volcano is actually a vent of an igneous volcano. Stratovolcanoes or composite volcanoes are tall, pointed mountains, composed of lava flows and other ejecta in alternative layers, the strata that gives rise to the name. Stratovolcanoes are also recognized as composite volcanoes because they are formed from multiple structures during different kinds of eruptions. Strato or composite volcanoes are made of cinders, ash, and lava. Cinders and ash pile on top of each other, lava drifts on top of the ash, where it cools and toughens, and then the process recurs. Classic examples comprise Mount Fuji in Japan, Main Volcano in the Philippines, and Mount Vesuvius and Stromboli in Italy. Through recorded history, ash formed by the explosive eruption of stratovolcanoes has posed the utmost volcanic hazard to civilizations. Not only do stratovolcanoes have greater pressure buildup from the underlying lava flow than shield volcanoes, but their crevice vents and monogenetic volcanic fields also have more powerful eruptions because they are frequently under extension. They are also sharper than shield volcanoes, with slopes of 30 to 35 degrees compared to slopes of generally 5 to 10 degrees, and their loose tephra are material for dangerous lahars. Large pieces of tephra are called volcanic bombs. Big bombs can measure more than 4 feet across and weigh several tons.
I think this should be enough for me. Thank you so much, Margaret.
That is the end of part 3. You now have half a minute to check your answers to part 3. Part 4. You will hear a doctor explaining details about earthquakes. First, you have some time to look at questions 31 to 40. Now listen carefully and answer questions 31 to 40.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Dr. Maya, and I'm a geophysicist at the National Institute of Earth Sciences. Before we dive into today's topic, I'd like to thank you all for being here. It's always encouraging to see so much interest in understanding the forces that shape our planet. An earthquake, also known as a quake, tremor, or trembler, is the trembling of the surface of the Earth, resultant from an abrupt release of energy in the Earth's lithosphere that generates seismic waves. Earthquakes can range in size from those that are so weak that they cannot be felt to those fierce enough to drive objects and people into the air, and lead to devastation across entire cities. The seismicity, or seismic activity, of an area is the frequency, type, and size of earthquakes experienced over a period. The word tremor is also used for non-earthquake seismic rumbling. At the Earth's surface, earthquakes evident themselves by shaking and displacing, or unsettling the ground. When the epicenter of a large earthquake is situated offshore, the seabed may be displaced sufficiently to source a tsunami. Earthquakes can also activate landslides and, rarely, volcanic activity. In its most general sense, the word earthquake is used to define any seismic event, whether natural or caused by humans, that produces seismic waves. An earthquake's point of initial rupture is called its hypocenter or focus. The epicenter is the point at ground level, right above the hypocenter. Earthquakes are produced mostly by rupture of geological faults, but also by other actions such as volcanic activity, landslides, mine blasts, and nuclear tests. Tectonic earthquakes arise anywhere in the Earth where there is adequate stored elastic strain energy to drive fracture propagation along a fault plane. The sides of a fault move past each other easily and seismically only if there are no indiscretions or asperities along the fault surface that upsurge the frictional resistance. Most fault surfaces do have such asperities, which leads to a form of stick-slip behavior. Once the fault has locked, constant relative motion between the plates leads to increasing stress and, consequently, stored strain energy in the volume around the fault surface. This lasts until the stress has risen adequately to break through the asperity, abruptly allowing sliding over the locked portion of the fault, liberating the stored energy. This energy is released as a grouping of radiated elastic strain seismic waves, frictional heating of the fault surface, and cracking of the rock, thus producing an earthquake. This process of gradual buildup of strain and stress interspersed by occasional sudden earthquake failure is stated to as the elastic rebound theory. It is estimated that only 10% or less of an earthquake's total energy is radiated as seismic energy. Most of the earthquake's energy is used to control the earthquake fracture growth or is transformed into heat, generated by friction. Consequently, earthquakes lower the Earth's available elastic potential energy and increase its temperature, though these changes are insignificant compared to the conductive and convective flow of heat out from the Earth's deep interior. There are three main types of fault, all of which may source an interplate earthquake: normal, reverse, and strike-slip. Normal and reverse faulting are examples of dip-slip, where the movement along the fault is in the direction of dip and where movement on them includes a vertical component. Normal faults occur mostly in areas where the crust is being extended, such as a divergent boundary. Reverse faults occur in areas where the crust is being shortened, such as at a convergent boundary. Strike-slip faults are vertical structures where the two sides of the fault slip horizontally past each other. Transform boundaries are a particular type of strike-slip fault. Many earthquakes are produced by movement on faults that have mechanisms of both dip-slip and strike-slip. This is known as oblique slip. Reverse faults, predominantly those along convergent plate boundaries, are related with the most influential earthquakes, megathrust earthquakes, including nearly all of those of magnitude 8 or more. Strike-slip faults, particularly continental transforms, can produce major earthquakes up to about magnitude 8. Earthquakes related with normal faults are usually less than magnitude 7.
That is the end of part 4 and the listening test. You now have 10 minutes to transfer your answers to an answer sheet.